Here's a writer who has read your interaction in response to Grunbaum. I said, if God has thoughts, then we could simply define a unit of time as the time between thoughts. This to me seems obvious. An alternative example is distance. What is distance? What does distance mean if there is only a single particle? What does distance mean when there are two particles? I think it is the same with time. So, to say God is exempt from the infinity of moments is to misunderstand what time is. Since formulating this question, I came across Dr. Craig's essay to Grunbaum, where he states, very well, suppose that God led up to creation by counting 1, 2, 3, fiat lux. In that case, the series of mental events alone is sufficient to establish a temporal succession prior to the commencement of physical time at t equals 0. Surely, Dr. Craig, you have just conceded that an actual infinity does exist?
Hardly. On my proposed thought experiment, God would begin counting at some point. So, no, I've in no way suggested that God could count down all the negative numbers to arrive at 0 sequentially. On the contrary, I've argued that's impossible. So what I'm imagining here is a finite series of mental events that precede the commencement of the physical creation.
So that's what you're illustrating in your essay to Grunbaum.
Right. I was trying to illustrate that time can exist independently of space. Very often people think that time and space are interdependent, but it seems to me we have a knockdown argument for the independence of time from space in that a series of mental events alone is sufficient for time to exist, even though space wouldn't exist. There wouldn't be any physical objects at all. You could have a mental sequence like counting numbers.
By the way, if there's only one particle, you'd still have distance from one side of the particle to the other, wouldn't you?
That's right. That's true.
Well, we've addressed this in the past, but it's worth rehearsing, and that is that God's thoughts aren't necessarily one at a time in subsequent addition on a track by subsequent addition, this train of thoughts that leads to these moments of time, that he can know everything intuitively in a single now, rather than have one thought after another like we do, right?
Yes, I don't see any problem in thinking of a timeless being who has all his knowledge at once, so to speak, rather than sequentially. So I'm not persuaded that personhood is incompatible with timelessness.